so pleased and thankful for these elected officials and candidates that are here with us tonight. And we're happy to have all of you. Just looking around, I know most of the people who are a part of our congregation, and I'm very pleased to see a whole lot of faces that I'm not familiar with from our community. And I'm sure some of you are traveling with your candidate of choice, but you're all welcome here. And the idea tonight is to have an opportunity to meet the candidates that are running for office in our town, and for the areas that are represented by in our county legislature, and also have the opportunity to ask questions about to them about the things that are on our minds. I've been a resident of the town of Huntington for 38 years now, and I know Esther Bivona gets this all the time. I think of all the money that I have sent for 38 years to Esther Bivona. But anyway, but I have skin in the game here. I have 2 of my children live in the town of Huntington, and 4 of my grandchildren live in the town of Huntington. And I love my congregation here, and we want, and the town of Huntington is where most of them are, although our church draws some other places. But we are happy when the town prospers, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to help the electoral process during this season. So I'm going to pray, and then I'm going to introduce you to our moderator for tonight. Father, thank you for this opportunity. And Lord, we know that we're meeting in your sight tonight, and so we pray, let your kingdom come, let your will be done. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Well, our moderator tonight is Bob Harrison. Bob, I've known for many years. Bob is one of our deacons, and when we thought about having this, I thought he would be an excellent moderator. And so Bob is going to just share a little bit about what we're going to be doing tonight and how it's going to work. But I also want to say, now that everybody's quieter, if you have questions, we're going to write down our questions. And so if you have a question or think you might think of one, get the card now so that you can be writing it down as we go through the night. And so when somebody is answering a question, it might provoke you to have additional questions. So I would encourage you to grab the card while you have a chance. And we're happy to receive all of your questions tonight. And so, Bob, let's welcome our moderator, Bob Harrison.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
So to reiterate, just to give you the overall format that we're going to do tonight, we want to get to know the candidates as people, as members of our community, share a little bit about who they are, and then we're going to move into a question and answer session that you can ask individual candidates. To start off, what we're going to do is we have a couple little adjustments we have to make along the way. Susan Berland has to leave fairly shortly, so we're going to have her do something right up front, and then we're going to kind of progress with the bios that we have. I'm going to read a bio, which is an introduction of the candidate, and then they're going to have about 2 minutes to speak. So overall, our framework tonight is going to be, right now it's about 7:10. We hope to get through the bios, introducing the candidates, who they are, get to know them a little bit better, within about half an hour. And then for about 45 minutes or so, we're going to have some Q&A. It seemed to be a lot of questions. Lauren's going to sort through, try and get some of the pointed questions that we want to get, to answer. And we'll go in basically in alphabetical order, with some of the questions that we have. So everybody's good with that? Very good. I want to do one quick introduction. We're in a church setting. We pray ahead of time. They pray in Congress. It's a very important venue, and we really want the candidates to know that we're behind you, 100%. One of the aspects of the church that I'm not sure if you're too familiar with, and I wrote down a couple scriptures just so you kind of know that we're for you. We may not agree on everything, but one of the scriptures that I wanted to share was 1 Timothy 2. It says, I urge you then, first of all, that requests, prayers, and intercession be made for everyone, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. So it's our call, God calls us to pray for you guys, because you have a lot of things thrown at you in a day, decisions you have to make, not necessarily easy, clean-cut, black and white, and so you need our prayers. And one of the things that I heard when I was down in Washington is Senator Sam Brownback, who's now the governor of Kansas, he said that we know when people are praying for us. It's just like they can sense that people are on their side. It's a difficult situation. They're trying to make the best of it, and they really sense that people are calling for them before God. And one of the things as far as your value in the positions that you're either doing now or holding, in 2 Samuel, these are the last words that King David spoke. He said, the Spirit of the Lord spoke through me. His word was on my tongue. The God of Israel spoke. The Rock of Israel said to me, when one rules over men in righteousness, when he rules in the fear of God, he is like the light of morning and sunrise on a cloudless morning, like the brightness after rain that brings the grass from the earth. So God is pleased, with the work that is done, and He's the one that really established governments for all of our benefit. To keep order in society, punish wrong, commend right. So all that's the background, and as a church, we want to, know that we support you in that. And we really want to get to know you better, and everyone that's here, and then ask some questions so that you can be a more informed voter, as far as issues go. So what I'd like to do to start off is Susan has to go in a few minutes. She has something prepared that she'd like to share with you, because she won't be able to do some of the question and answer a little bit later. And I also wanted to let you know that Gene Cook was planning on being here. I just wanted to read something real quick, and then I'm going to do Susan's bio. She can give her statement, and then she's going to have to run. Okay? Gene Cook was planning on attending. Will be involved in a funeral for a dear friend and fellow member of the Order of the Hibernians. If any of his aides are on hand, we may be able to address some, any questions that you might have for him. And now, I'm going to read Susan's bio, and then she'll make a statement, and then we'll kind of progress. And there won't be any question and answer at this point with the. We just want to kind of get everybody get to know them, and then we're going to proceed to the Q&A after. Yes. Okay. I think. Okay. Just one, we do have two judges on hand with us, and Joe just reminded me that we want to acknowledge that they're here. Say something very quick before we proceed. It was Matthew Hughes, family court judge, and George Parker. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves? Oh, sure. Okay, sure. Right. The judges can't take any questions. It's just an introduction and acknowledgement, because they've come to be with us tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is George Harkin. I'm running for one of two family court positions that are open this year. And as you were told, there's not a lot that we can say in regard to issues. We can just give you basically our qualifications. So just to briefly give you some qualifications about myself, I graduated from Hofstra Law School in 1988, went to work for the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office. Started out trying misdemeanor cases, and eventually, when I left from the DA's office, I was in the Major Crime Bureau, trying major felony cases on robberies, burglaries, rapes, attempted murders. I then went to work for somebody else in private practice, and then built my own practice. Part of my practice, actually a big part of my practice, was family court work. And during that time, I would sit with the parents, the mothers, the fathers that I was representing. And they'd either sit in my office, or I'd sit with them in their own homes. And I got to know what they were feeling, what they were thinking as they were facing litigation in family court. family court is a very serious place. You're dealing with custody issues, maintenance issues, termination of parental rights. There's a lot of things that go on in family court. It's very important, so I'm glad we have this opportunity to come before you. After I left private practice, I went to the Attorney General's office and defended the state of New York in a place called the Court of Claims. That's where people sue the state of New York for money damages. While there, the judge that was in there asked me to come work for him as a principal law clerk. Principal law clerk, basically, you are the judge's lawyer. You advise the judge on evidentiary rulings, conference cases, draft decisions. And that's what I did for 16 years in the Court of Claims. I'm now in Supreme Court, where I work for Judge David Riley, who's from Huntington. Huntington always gets a good round of applause. And we are in matrimonial part. And in a matrimonial part, there's tremendous crossover between the matrimonials and family court issues. So I'm back in the world of family court issues. And that gives you a wrap-up of my legal experience. But when you're on the bench, you don't just have your legal experience, you have your personal experience. And for that, I've been married to my wife for 25 years. We've raised 2 sons. One is 22 and graduated from college this past May. The other is 19 and is a sophomore in college. We've seen the various stages that children go through. With boys, you get a lot that goes on. And we've dealt with all of it. And my wife and I have sat there and decided what's in the best interest of our children, what's in the best interest of our family. So I'm asking for your support on November 3rd. Although I'm not a sitting judge, I'm very humbled by the fact that the Suffolk County Court Employees Association, that is the union that represents the men and women who run the courts, have endorsed me. So again, thank you for this time, and I ask for your support.
Yeah, she's got to go in just a minute. Let me give you Susan's bio. She'll tell us a couple things, and then she has to scoot. Susan Berland was first elected to the Huntington Town Board in 2001 and re-elected to 4-year terms in 2003, 2007, and 2011. As the town's first full-time council member, Susan's door is always open. She's worked tirelessly to make the town's government open, accessible, and responsive, and has distinguished herself as an untiring and effective advocate for our entire community. Susan has passed legislation that is helping to put an end to blight in our communities, regulates running...
Bamboo.
Bamboo?
Bamboo.
Okay.
Evil thing.
And holds landlords accountable for their accessory apartments. In an effort to increase governmental transparency, Susan spearheaded the effort to televise all official town meetings. She is an advocate of open space, water quality, the arts, and providing programming for Huntington senior, veteran, youth, and disabled residents. Susan continually sponsors events to protect our community's environment and encourage a spirit of charity and volunteerism. She's a member of the Huntington Lighthouse Preservation Society, Huntington Kiwanis Club, the board of directors of the International Dyslexia Association, Long Island, and is an honorary co-chair of Suffolk County Toys for Tots. Susan is a past vice president and member of the board of directors of House Beautiful at Dix Hills and one of the leading civic associations in the town of Huntington, and a former president, vice president, and treasurer of the Huntington Recreational Association. She has been honored by numerous civic and charitable organizations by her many contributions to the community. She's a graduate of Hofstra University School of Law and the State University of New York at Albany, where she served as a New York State Senate aide. She lives in Dix Hills with her husband and 4 children.
Thank you very much for having this evening tonight. I want to thank the church for welcoming us. I'm terribly sorry I am unable to stay for the duration of your Meet the Candidates night tonight, but I must attend the Hibernian service for my former legislative aide's father, who suddenly passed away. I've known this young lady and her parents since she was 16, and I need to be with her and her family. I want to thank Reverend Garrett Fallow for giving me the opportunity to address you before I have to leave. I've given my heart and soul to being your councilwoman for the last 14 years. I have been and continue to be the town's only full-time councilwoman. I raised 4 children during that time, balancing their needs with the demands of the job. They are 4 successful young adults, 2 college graduates and 2 in college. I'm very proud of my children, and I am proud of the work that I have done for the town of Huntington. I will tell you the facts, as I always have. Not every phrase comes out in the most artfully constructed way that you may want, but my heart and my intentions are always in the right place. I have passed numerous pieces of legislation to help our town. The blight legislation, which helps us in expediting the process of dealing with abandoned and foreclosed properties. I brought the town's zoning board, planning board, and town board meetings to television and online to increase transparency by bringing these meetings to your homes for those of you who couldn't attend the meetings. I've saved hundreds of acres of open space, supported the building and upgrading of parks, and that support has been backed by the dollars necessary to make the projects possible. I drafted the bamboo law to outlaw the planting of running bamboo, which, trust me, if you haven't, you won't want it. I've supported our veterans, drafting legislation to protect their town salaries if they're deployed. I've rewritten the permitting process for town's resources to protect all of us against charities that would misrepresent where collected funds are donated. I created the town's first youth council for high school students to learn about and participate in local government. I sponsor the Huntington Awards for high school performing arts students, and I'm lucky to serve as the MC of every single senior performance at the Senior Center. I support all the programs we have at the Senior Center, as well as SeniorNet, an organization focused on teaching computer and internet skills to our seniors. I am proud of my record, including my record as the town's leading advocate for people with physical and other challenges. You may or may not know, I'm profoundly dyslexic. I present an award each year to a graduating senior from each high school who has dyslexia or some other learning disability and has risen above their challenges to succeed. I helped create the town's Office of Handicapped Services and have worked to improve the level of services we provide and job opportunities for our handicapped residents. I wrote the law that increased penalties for violations for and expanded enforcement of handicap parking restrictions. I oversaw the expansion and improvement of our town's adult daycare center, which helps families deal with members suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia. Elections should be based on merits, so it's especially distressing to me that there are some cyber bullies out there who can't take issue with my record, so in addition to the lies and slander they're posting, they're manipulating people to create issues that don't exist. I'm not going to address these specifically, as we are in a house of God. And I truly believe that those who have participated in these false attacks will have to answer to a higher authority. I stand proudly on my record. I ask you to do your homework before you vote. Check out my record. Don't be swayed by lies and innuendo. If you have a question, call me, 351-3173. Just ask me, as I am asking you for your support on Election Day, November 3rd. Thank you very much.
Hi, good afternoon. Good evening, I'm sorry. My name is Matthew Hughes. I'm running for Suffolk County Family Court Judge. I'm running with my running mate, George Harkin, who you previously heard. I'll tell you a little about myself and tell you a little about my legal experience and my life experience. In terms of my legal experience, I started my career as a staff attorney for the Suffolk County Legal Aid Society in the Family Court Bureau, where I represented petitioners and respondents in connection with orders of protection, custody and visitation, abuse and neglect proceedings, termination of parental rights. I had the good opportunity to obviously advise people and counsel them in terms of what to expect in family court. I've tried numerous cases, every type of case there is to be tried in family court. In addition to being a staff attorney in the Legal Aid Society, I was also a prosecutor for the Town of Huntington Town Attorney's Office, where I was a Special Assistant District Attorney, where I prosecuted town code violations and misdemeanors in district court. I'm currently a principal law clerk to the Honorable Judge Joseph C. Pastoressa. A principal law clerk is a quasi-judicial position whereby essentially you are a lawyer to a Supreme Court judge. Supreme Court is the highest trial court level, and I get to obviously draft decisions, do research on behalf of the judge. But more importantly than my legal experience, which I think will serve me well as a family court judge, I think life experience. When you're talking about family and you're talking about children, that's really what counts. I'm a father of 2 children. I have a daughter age 10 and a son age 6. They both attend the Harborfield School District. I'm a Huntington resident. I'm married to my wife of 15 years, and if I can get through the next 3 or 4 days, I hope to be married another 15 years. I'm an uncle to 5 nieces and nephews. I'm a son to my parents who've been married for over 50 years. I've been a CYO basketball coach at St. Hugh's, and I'm an active member of Our Lady Queen of Martyr here in Centerport. And I can tell you that my wife and I understand the stresses and struggles of families in Suffolk County. And I can tell you that, whether it's picking up and dropping off kids at choir practice or tennis practice or soccer practice, I can understand. And I think that's a very important perspective to have if you're going to preside over family court matters when you're dealing with custody and visitation and issues like child support. And I can tell you that one of the legal standards used in family court is what's in the best interest of the child or the children. And I can tell you that my wife and I, every day, every week, every year, we try to determine what's in the best interest of our children. And with your support on November 3rd, I hope to be able to determine the best interests of the children of Suffolk County. I want to thank you for your time, and have a nice evening. Thank you so
much. Okay, we're going to continue on with the, I'm going to read the bio. If you can hold it to about 2 minutes or so, Lauren has got the timer working here, just so we can keep moving and get to the question and answer that everyone has there. So next is Esther Bivona. Has lived in Huntington since 1955. She grew up in Centerport on a 10-acre farm with her parents and 6 brothers. Graduated from Harborfield High School. She earned a Bachelor of Science in Special Education from SUNY at Geneseo, and a Master of Arts in Special Education from Hofstra. Esther has worked in education both as a classroom teacher, college instructor, and life experience advisor. In 1981, she was hired as Deputy Receiver of Taxes in Huntington, a title she held until being elected Receiver of Taxes in 1991, the title she still holds. Esther has been involved in many civic and community groups such as Deborah Hospital, Huntington Breast Cancer Action Coalition, Seroptimist International Huntington, Long Island Oceans, and Ovarian Cancer Education Awareness, Networking, and Support Group. She is currently the president of the Suffolk Receivers and Collectors Association and past president of the Northeast Regional Tax Collectors and Treasurers Association, as well as the past president of the New York State Receivers and Collectors Association. Esther's been married to her husband John, a New York State Supreme Court Justice for 46 years, and are proud parents of son John, a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army, and his wife is Karen.
My baby's back there.
Are we waiting?
He just got back from Brussels today. They came in on the Queen Mary 2. He's still a little green around the gills. Just so you know, if you're sitting up in the front and you see my face, we're not doing boxing with the candidates here. I took a terrible fall, and so I have a mess on my face, but I'll survive. What I wanted to talk about was I just loved the note that we were sent in the email that we got that said what we should prepare for, and it said, what do you love about the community you serve? And I think that's such an important point. And I love everything about the community I serve. I am the first person you see when you come into the tax office because I want you to know that I am there, that you are the most important person to me. Within the law, I do have to follow the law, but and the reason that I feel that strongly about doing that and the love that I feel for my community and for you as our residents is that you trust me. This year, the collection will be over $1 billion. You let me take that money from you. And you trust me to do what's right with it and what's right for you. And I have done that for you for the past 24 years. and I would love to continue to do it for you for as long as you will have me. I just feel that what the tax receiver does, you know, you can hate the job I do, but I hope that you like me. And I think for the most part, most people do, because I am fair, I am honest, I do the job within the law, and I treat everyone equally. And I think that's very important, that you all get the same treatment from me. If when you walk in you don't get a big smile from me, then, you know, tell me. Tell me I'm not smiling, because I will figure out what's wrong. But I really am there to serve you. I love the job that I do, and I hope you will continue to re-elect me. Thank you.
Okay, and next is Grant Lally, and he's been very concise. He says he's a candidate for the county legislature, a former congressional contender as an attorney with offices in Mineola. He's lived on Long Island his entire life, growing up on the North Shore and learning the boat and sail in Huntington. He and his wife Deborah are raising baby son Brahm, B-R-A-H-M. Okay, very good.
That was all we said. Thank you so much. It's great to be here tonight. It's really an honor and a pleasure. I had the pleasure of attending services here last year. I'm a member of Christ Church in Oyster Bay, which was actually Teddy Roosevelt's old church. But it was wonderful to attend services here as well. So thank you for inviting me, and thank you for holding this event tonight. I think it's very important for the community to be able to see and hear people running for office, be able to ask questions of them, and be able to ask questions of those who actually are in office, and as to what they're doing and or not doing in the positions of power that they hold in our society, in our town, in our county. I'm running for county legislature, which is the governmental body that supervises Suffolk County, county of 1.5 million people, the whole east end of Long Island. It's particularly important for me. I grew up on Long Island, grew up here as a kid, and spent a lot of my youth here in Huntington. I actually learned to boat and sail here in Huntington back in the 1970s. There was a sailing program at Huntington Harbor, and they would tow us out in Blue Jays out to Lloyd Harbor. I don't know if we learned much, but we had a lot of fun. So it's a great community. It's also a community I've seen change and evolve and develop over the years, and in some ways very well, in some ways not as well. But that's why we're here. I want to try to make a positive difference. One of the things that's not so well is we've seen an explosion of taxes in our community. Tax burden right now is worse, heavier than it ever has been in our history. And I'm hearing it and seeing it, and it's causing a lot of distress for people because they are finding it harder and harder. It's less and less affordable to live here. And it's harder and harder to both pay taxes and pay all those things that taxes make more expensive: food, hardware, clothing. Everything is more expensive because it's more expensive to pay for it. Am I out of time, or?
45 seconds.
45 seconds. So that's my number one priority. The county of Suffolk it's really a disaster. The state controller and is a Democrat, has said that the Democrats who run this county have put it in a state of fiscal distress. It's one of the worst counties financially in New York, and there's no reason for that. It really means having discipline and keeping your house in order. We also saw, and this is a very disturbing development, was the resignation of the police chief yesterday. And we'll get into some of the details in a bit, but I think we need to hold the Democrats accountable for appointing someone who had such a dark record as the police chief whom they appointed, and it's just now resigned. That sounds like my time, but we'll follow up later, and I look forward to speaking with you. So, thank you.
Just so everybody's aware, the candidates do have literature on the back tables. If you'd like to look at some of the details and everything, or positions, or descriptions of some of the things that they're promoting. Next bio is Monique Pardes, and who's running for the receiver of taxes for the town of Huntington. She's lived in the Old Chester Hills community for the past 18 years. She's a member of that community civic association. Her son graduated from John Glenn High School, and her daughter is currently a senior there. She obtained her Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from Stony Brook University, and also attended Adelphi to receive a paralegal certificate. She recently got her teacher's assistant certification. She's currently employed as a TA for children with special needs, and also does various volunteer work.
Good evening. Thank you to the Island Christian Church for having me here this evening. It's my pleasure to meet all of you in person, and I thank you for your time. A few of the things that I would like to see in the Receiver of Taxes office would be to facilitate payment, both by having Saturday hours, the last Saturday before the payment is due, as well as blocking off some of the parking in order for you to make your payments a little bit easier. The other thing that I would like to do is also just have some material available to make the tax process less daunting. Unfortunately, the most frequently asked question I get is, can I reduce your taxes? I can't. So, something else that I would also like to see is to have an answering machine set up when the office is closed that gives you the answer to your most frequently asked questions and enables you to leave a message to get a call back at the next opening at the next time the office is open. As far as the town of Huntington, because I received that email also, what do I love about the town of Huntington? I think Northport Village is a beautiful and scenic area. I think that the John Engman Theater, where you can see Broadway quality plays without going into Manhattan, is a wonderful asset in Northport. I think Heckscher Park and all the wonderful events in the summer and spring that are held there are a great asset, as well as Huntington Village itself. Although parking is difficult, the restaurants and the shops are amazing. And I am very grateful for a lot of people who have given me support, very grateful for that support, and I hope for your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Okay, next up is Joanne Raia, first elected in November 1981 to a term commencing January 1982. She also serves as secretary to the town board and board of trustees, and attends all town board meetings, and is responsible for the town board of trustees minutes, legal notices, certifications of town records, and filing of change of zone applications. For many of her years as town clerk, Joanne has represented Nassau and Suffolk counties as a district director of the New York State Town Clerks Association and liaison to the New York State Department of Health, Division of Vital Statistics, and also liaison to the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles, and especially Disability Parking Permit Division. As town clerk, also serves as registrar of vital statistics, records management officer, and marriage officer. Joanne has received praise and many honors over the years from a variety of groups. They include the Citizen of the Year Award from the League of Women Voters of Huntington, the Clara Barton Award presented by the American Red Cross, the Silver Sword Award from the Cancer Society, the Good Deed Award from the Suffolk County Boy Scouts Council, Woman of the Year Award by the Huntington Business and Professional Women Organization, a Woman of the Year in Government from the New York Times, in addition to numerous other awards and citations. Joanne has received the Nassau Suffolk Town Clerks Association Town Clerk of the Year Award, and was also named Town Clerk of the Year by the New York State Town Clerks Association. She's recognized for promoting the role of town clerks through her professionalism and thorough knowledge of her office. She's received a MARAC, Mid-Atlantic Regional Archives Conference Award for the Guide to the Archival Records and Manuscripts of the Town of Huntington. As a resident of Huntington for 45 years and town clerk for over 30 years, her two children, Diane and Andrew, were raised in Huntington and are graduates of Town of Huntington Schools.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and thank you everyone involved in hosting this event this evening. Well, as was said, I have been your town clerk since 1982, and I really, really love my job. I'm going to go off on a little tangent because your moderator covered a lot of the issues. But one of the items that I am most proud of is our award-winning records management program. I have a state-of-the-art facility in the basement, which used to be the gym. It was the first Huntington High School, where Town Hall is located. I have a record center which stores the town's inactive records. As town clerk, I'm also the custodian, the legal custodian of all town records. And I'm the records management officer for those documents. And they can only be disposed of when they meet certain criteria that the state education has put forth. I also have a state-of-the-art archives, and I welcome any tours. If anyone wants to come down, perhaps you'd like to arrange for a tour of church members. I have wonderful documents, all originals. I have the original Native American Indian deed from 1653. Which is just amazing when people look at it. It has the chief's marks, and it also has the signature of the 3 English settlers. As mentioned, I raised my children here. They were educated in Huntington. And I'd have to say what I really love about Huntington is the fact that it has changed. It keeps changing for the better in respect to the quality of the stores that we have, the quality of the restaurants. I used to spend my summers here. I grew up in Brooklyn, and as a young child, I spent every summer with my cousins. So that was my trip to the country, and it really was country then. And I have seen the changes. It's like when Burger Haven opened on Jericho Turnpike, that was wonderful. It was the first burger store. But growing up in Brooklyn, I couldn't find a decent bagel. So whenever I went back to visit my parents or my in-laws, we always made sure we came back with a bag full of bagels. Now we have great bagel stores, one on almost every corner. I just love the beauty of the town. I would never picture myself living any other place than the town of Huntington. And since we are in a house of worship today, the town clerk is mentioned in the Bible. And it is the book of Acts, chapter 17, verse 35, and it says, the town clerk appeased the people and quieted the crowd. Which sometimes I have to do all the time. So thank you very much. And please vote for me.
So I know who to call on if somebody gets a little out of hand here. They'll help me take care of it. Okay. Okay. Next is Dr. William Spencer. Received his early education in Welch, a small town in West Virginia. He was named a West Virginia Scholar, graduated with honors from high school, went on to receive higher education at Wesleyan University in Middletown, Connecticut, Connecticut Missionary Baptist Association, and University of Connecticut School of Medicine, Farmington, Connecticut. He moved on to St. Vincent's Hospital Medical Center, New York City, where he completed his internship and residency in surgery. His residency in, I'm not going to say it starts with an O, it's ear, nose, and throat, okay? Was at New York Eye and Ear Infirmary, New York City, 1993 to 1999, and he completed his fellowship at the University of Miami in pediatric ear, nose, and throat in 2000. That same year, he started his own private practice on Long Island, on 25 Carver Street. He's currently chief of, you put that in a lot. I gotta say it once. Otolaryngology. Okay. I'll say O from now on, okay? And at Huntington Hospital, an associate clinical professor at Stony Brook University Hospital. 1997, Dr. Spencer began his affiliation with Huntington Hospital, and he chose to make the church across the street, Bethel AME, his church home for many years. In addition to his attendance at Bethel AME, he serves as pastor of Willow Manor Fellowship in Centerport, New York. Dr. Spencer, who is also a licensed pilot, now lives in Centerport with his wife Rachel and 3 children. He's committed to bettering the neighborhood in which he lives and has accordingly become active in the town's political community. From 2003 to 2012, he served as chairman of the Town of Huntington Housing Authority. In 2011, Dr. Spencer was elected to serve his first term as the Suffolk County Legislator representing the 18th Legislative District, and in 2013 was re-elected overwhelmingly the second term. His freshman term accomplishments were impressive. His first position to serve in the Suffolk County Legislature since its inception in 1970, he was selected to serve as the chairman of the Legislature's Health Committee. In 2013, was featured as Man of the Year by the Times of Huntington. In 2014, was selected Person of the Year by the Long Islander. Dr. Spencer is a combination scholar, medical doctor, reverend, and Suffolk County legislator. He focuses on these passions, selected to try and better the lives of friends, neighbors, and members of his community.
Thank you, and it's truly an honor to be here and to be at Island Christian Church, and thank you for taking the time to come out and host this forum. I am so blessed to be a member of this community, my wife Rachel, our 3 children in the Harborfield School District, and growing up in West Virginia, which is one of the poorest states in the Union, as a child, one of the things that happened to me that I was told that my mother had a terminal illness and that she wouldn't survive. And that was one of the driving forces in me doing research and striving to become a doctor. And when I was 19 years old, about to go to college, I'm a PK, a preacher's kid. I was in a situation where I really had felt that I was called into the ministry, and it was a very difficult choice because I wanted to go to college, I wanted to be a doctor, and my dad at the time shared with me, he said, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added to you. And that was the best decision that I could ever make, was to put God first in my life, and that's always been the case. And I was able to go to medical school and go to complete my seminary training to be ordained in the ministry. And I am a beneficiary of the American dream. I am blessed to be in the Huntington community. And as a legislator, one of the things that I believe is important is that we all work together. And I've worked with all across the political spectrum, and we have gotten results working together. We came in during a difficult time, and we're continuing to work out this. I believe that we are a brother's keeper, that we have to support our families. But the most important thing, the reason for my political service, is that I believe that the sacrifice or the service that we owe for having this beautiful earth that God has given us is that we are all obligated to political or to community service. And that's one of the reasons why I became a legislator, and it's been something that's been a passion for me, doing things for children, vets, our community, for public health. And if you would give me the opportunity to continue, I promise to continue to work hard. I ask that you support me, and again, thank you.
Okay, next is Steve Stern. He's proud to have been elected to serve his 5th term as a Suffolk County legislator representing the 16th Legislative District. Legislator Stern serves as chairman of the prestigious Ways and Means Committee and continues to serve as chairman of the Veterans and Seniors Committee, the only legislator to chair 2 of those committees. He also serves as vice chairman of the Economic Development Committee and serves as Budget and Finance Committee and Public Works and Transportation. In addition to representing our community with distinction, commitment, outstanding constituent services, Legislator Stern has authorized several legislative initiatives, the very first in New York, even first in the U.S. He's author of the Protect Our Fallen Heroes Act, which protects military funerals from reprehensible protests from families that are grieving the loss of loved ones. Prior to his election, he assisted in coordinating congressional hearings for the U.S. House Select Committee on Aging, focusing on issues of elder abuse, long-term care, and health and legal services for the Long Island's senior citizens. He graduated from Tulane University, received his law degree from Western Michigan University, the Thomas Cooley Law School, graduating cum laude. He is a certified elder law attorney awarded through the National Elder Law Foundation, and it is admitted to practice law in New York and Florida. He's recently elected a fellow of the New York Bar Foundation. In addition, he served as an adjunct professor of law at Touro School of Law. He's a past trustee of Multiple Sclerosis Society Long Island Chapter and past vice president in Suffolk YJCC. He's been featured in Newsday, New York Times, and Long Island Business News. He's proud to be chosen Man of the Year in Government by the Times of Huntington.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and it really is a privilege to be back here at Island Christian Church. I'm proud of my record, but certainly one of the wisest decisions I must have made in all of these years serving as legislator was having Joe, Reverend Garofalo, accept my invitation. He served as our guest clergy and gave a wonderful invocation of the Suffolk County Legislators. So when you say that we can feel it, I certainly know it, that he's certainly praying for all of us, and I certainly appreciate that. I am running for what would be, due to term limits, my final term to serve as legislator, to build on a record that I'm so proud of. Many of those accomplishments were mentioned, and I'd love the opportunity to speak further about many of them. My wife, Meredith, and I have been together for almost 25 years, and we have 2 children. And one of the things that I love most about our community is our sense of community and all of the residents within it. In my capacity as legislator, I've had the opportunity to celebrate many, many highs, and I've mourned many losses with many of you through the years. We've had great accomplishments in our community, and good, bad, battles. Afterwards, we come together, we get things done, and at the end of the day, we have each other's backs. And I know that because I've seen it firsthand many occasions through the years. We have each other's backs, and one example of that for me personally was mentioned. It's my privilege to serve as the chairman of the Veterans and Seniors Committee in the Suffolk County Legislature. I have the opportunity to work with and for so many of our veterans and their families, particularly those that are still dealing with too many challenges as they come home after serving us overseas, and too many of them dealing with challenges, particularly not having a place to call home this evening. And that's why I authored and passed the Housing Our Homeless Heroes Act, which is Suffolk County's very aggressive effort to end veterans' homelessness in Suffolk County. It's legislation I'm very proud of. It will serve as a model for the rest of New York State and even the rest of the nation. I'm looking forward to the implementation of that new law as we find housing opportunities for our veterans and their families. And once again, show the rest of the country that we always lead the way here in Suffolk County, particularly when it comes to our veterans and the most vulnerable in our communities. That's why I'm running for re-election, and I ask for your continued support one more time this November 3rd. Thank you.
Okay, very good. And we have Jen Thompson. Jennifer is a resident of Northport and has been elected 3 times to serve as a trustee on the Northport, East Northport Board of Education, where she has served 2 years as vice president and 4 years as the policy committee chairperson. She and her husband Brent have been married for nearly 20 years, and she has 2 middle school-aged children. The daughter of immigrants, she credits her mother and father for teaching her the value of hard work and strong community. Jennifer is a passionate advocate for transparency and community participation in all aspects of community life. She's prepared to work to bring an increased ethical standard and greater efficiency to all aspects of local government. She and her running mate, Jean Cook, are committed to supporting legislation for term limits in an effort to bring fresh faces and ideas to local leadership and protect us against special interest influence. Jennifer, along with her husband Brent and children Sterling and Lauren, are active members of Island Christian Church. She's excited that God has provided this opportunity to run for this position and looks forward to serving her community with honesty and integrity.
So I definitely want to thank the church for providing this forum and giving an opportunity for our church community and the greater community to be able to go out and vote with an educated, not an educated guest, but educated as voters. And so I think that's a tremendous thing, and it's certainly our opportunity to go out and vote. So I'm glad that everybody's here and will be exercising their vote on Tuesday. I also want to point out, just to give a little, I guess, tip my hat to Joanne Raia. She has been tremendous to me during this process of running for this position, which is a tremendous undertaking to campaign the way that we've had to, and all of us, 9 candidates or 10 candidates or however many candidates are here, we have been in the hot seat for 9 debates over the last 15 days. So it has been like living in a pressure cooker. And so the reason I point out Joanne Raia is because she is running unopposed. She has no reason to be here to get your vote, but she is simply here because she cares. And so I do think that we should commend her for taking her time to show the community her commitment to all of us, when really she could be home, I guess not watching a Met game, but doing something else. As for the rest of us, we are in the mad dash to Tuesday, November 3rd. And so I appreciate just having this final opportunity to meet with you all face to face. A little bit about my background. I was not, politician is kind of a stinky word in our society now, because we've been let down by politicians. We read about them regularly for their unethical behavior, for their poor choices, for disappointing us as their electorate. And one of the reasons, so I never saw myself as a politician. I wasn't even involved in ASB in high school. I kind of let everybody else do that. And I was committed to my church ministry and to all sorts of other things, but by no means did I ever have an inkling that this would be the road that I'd be on. And in 2009, a family actually from this church, Tom and Jessie Wingfield, they hosted a Bible study called the Truth Project. And in that Bible study, one of the things that Del Tackert taught on was that we need, as Christians, to be engaged in our community. We need to not withdraw, but to come in. And I felt a great sense of, oh dear, what's God asking me to do? And so, but it was very clear that I was being called to engage. And so in 2010, I ran for the school board in my town. And I'll tell you more about it one day.
All right, we're doing well. What we're going to do is move into the question and answer. Are there any other cards that anyone wants to turn in? Any questions? I'm trying to filter through and make sure we've got like a representation of the Q&A that we want to do. One thing we want to mention is, I know some topics can be political hot potatoes, generate a lot of emotion. We just ask that you, with some of the questions that I'm trying to compile here, if there's something you're really upset about everything else, just ask that you kind of keep respectful. We'll try and get to some questions. A lot of the cards that came in have there's multiple cards on the same question, so we're going to try and filter through these. And so right now we're running about 8 o'clock. What I'd like to do to start off is I want to talk with the county and the town board members first. Just one question that is one of the primary ones that we have, and we can start with Grant and kind of move in alphabetical order to the left. And this is a number of cards here, is the cost of living on Long Island. We see that taxes and just generally living here, it costs a lot. And I've traveled myself all around the country, and you look at price of real estate or taxes, things like that, and it's high. We have a lot of services and things like that, but the question is like we tend to be losing a lot of our 20s and 30s right now, because they what happens, they go to school, you know, they might go out of state, and they don't tend to come back because they kind of shop and compare, you know, where they can live, the cost of living, where they want to raise a family, and it's a big concern because where's the next generation of Long Islanders going to come from if we keep losing them, you know, as a group? So I want to address that question, Grant, and then Dr. Spencer, Steve, and Jen, because we'll talk. The first three will be from a county perspective, and then Jen will talk about the town.
Thanks. It's probably the single most important issue that's affecting most people in our area, which is it's affordability. How are we going to make this, our community, our town, our county affordable, our Long Island, make it affordable again? So we can keep our graduates, we can keep our young people here, so that people when they retire don't feel that they're forced to leave. And I can tell you from going around, and I've talked to thousands of people during the course of this campaign, I've done innumerable doors. I mean, I've been told repeatedly people have their exit strategy in place. And I mean, that's a term that people use in war. It's not what we should be doing as a community, is forcing people to have exit strategies. You know, Newsday did a survey, and 7 out of 10 high school valedictorians for the last decade are gone. They've never come back to Long Island. That means most of our best and our brightest, our brightest high school graduates aren't coming back. They're going to other places in the country. And it's not as though other parts of the country are sending huge numbers of their valedictorians here. It's not happening. So the root cause of this is taxes. We have the highest taxes in the United States of America here, in this region, particularly on Long Island. And it's a product of years of frankly, weak political leadership, weak politicians who have not made the hard choices, have not cut the budgets, and it becomes cumulative year after year after year, and it becomes more and more expensive. So I'm pledged to cut taxes. We have to be tough, and we have to keep spending down in order for us to reduce taxes. Freeze taxes where possible, reduce them where possible. And I think that's the answer. It's that simple.
Thank you for that question. And we are in the most expensive place on the planet to live. Like 155 cost index, $155 here goes where $100 goes other places. And it's related to the cost of living in general. And we have high housing costs, we have high energy costs. And at the county level, we've actually held the line of taxes. Your taxes from the county make up a very small percentage of your tax bill. But what I believe that we have to do is that there's so many families that are depending on the services that we provide. And I believe that we can't just cut and slash, and I appreciate my opponent's zeal, but the county has very little to do with the taxes that impact you. We need to bring in outside resources. We have to be advocates to bring in more because we give more on the federal level, we give more on the state level. And so what I've done is bring in resources. We have made difficult choices where we do have impact. And we have to really put programs out there for our young people. And I've done that with my internship programs. I've done that by supporting our Tri-CYA, providing safe places for our students to be able to get an education and give them opportunities when they return. So thank you for that question.
It is the number one question that I get as I knock on thousands of doors every year in our community, and as a parent of young children myself, it's a question that I ask as well, and that's why at the Suffolk County level of government, we get that. And that's why for the past 10 years, there has been no increase in general fund property taxes, zero increase. And in the police district over the past couple of years, there has been an increase that has been kept below the tax cap. So when it comes to the question of taxes, Doc is correct. The county portion of the property tax bill is relatively small, but we get it. And that's why there has been no increase in general fund property taxes and a modest increase in the police district within the tax cap. As to keeping our best and our brightest, The way you do that is to grow our economy so that we have the kinds of jobs that our young, talented professionals and those that want to stay here, and perhaps those that want to pursue trades, have job opportunities that they find fulfilling. And at the county level of government, we don't control the land use. We don't have the zoning authority. But we can help out and provide the infrastructure that is necessary to be able to serve businesses and to serve those innovative ideas that we're starting to see, and those projects starting to get off the ground all across Suffolk County. So at the county level of government, for us, it comes down to the infrastructure that's necessary to be able to serve businesses. And let me just very quickly, that also means making sure that we are a business-friendly environment. That means cutting the red tape. That means providing a culture here in Suffolk County that's friendly to business. In Suffolk County level of government, we work hard every day to move at the pace of business, not the other way around.
I'm whispering to him, he only has 1 minute. Because we all could give you 5 minutes worth of answer. But the reality is I think one of our biggest issues is ethics. And I think that because the ethical standard is on a sliding scale in the hearts and minds of many of our leaders, and we see that day after day on the front pages of our newspaper, that there really isn't an accountability to how our money is being spent. It's somebody else's money, it's our money, but there's not an expectation of what are you doing with our money? How is it being spent? And I think that one of the things that I want to do, and it's on my platform, is refine ethics and transparency in our community. What is our budget looking like? Where is the money being spent? Who are getting the contracts? When are they getting the contracts? Are they competitively bid, or are they just simply people that are getting contracts time and time again because they've made major donations to campaigns? And so that also brings me into the fact that I am a proponent of term limits, because I believe that the longer that you are entrenched, the more susceptible you are to making decisions based on the benefits of campaign finance. And so I'm very interested in making sure that every community member gets the most bang for their buck, that every elected official comes in, does the job, and moves on, and isn't there to make a career out of it, and isn't there to profit from it.
One follow-on question I have on that is, cost of living is structural. It's like you have town, you have county, you have school district. I mean, will anything ever go down? Where it can become more competitive? And, we can go through the same answers. If you have, something that can change our structural, just how things are, compiled here that make it very expensive. Where do we go from here? Kind of casting a vision for the future. Where are we 20 years from now?
Let me start.
Yeah.
Look, it means tough decision making. There are a lot of states that went through very tough economic times. What was known as the Rust Belt in the United States went through economic collapse. Whether it's Cleveland, Ohio, or much of Ohio, a lot of the Midwest. Detroit is probably the most grievous example. A lot of these places, and the state of Michigan has gotten their affairs in order. John Kasich has done a great job in Ohio in getting spending under control, reducing taxes. So all these things can be done, but it takes will. It takes a determination to do it, and the political courage and the political will to implement it. So sure, it can be done. It has been done. Chris Christie has done a great job in New Jersey, getting New Jersey's finances under control, restructuring New Jersey state government. These things can be done. There are a lot of people who've done it, and that's why I'd like to be elected, because that's something, I'm not afraid to do that. But it takes the courage, the personal courage and the moral courage to be able to stand up and say, no, I'm not going to do this giveaway contract. No, we're not going to do this project. Be nice, but we can't afford it. It will drive away business. So that's what we need to do.
One of the things that is important, though, in a legislature is that you have to work in a group collectively to make these decisions. And the example I always give is that when I walk into a disaster scene as a surgeon, I have to triage. And when I triage, I take care of the most critical things first. And we've done that. We need to take a scalpel, but you have to do it working with Republicans and Democrats, and you have to do it by looking at good ideas. And we've saved $500 million. We imprison more people on the planet in the United States. And one of the things that we've done, we had to build a new jail for $300 million. But looking at alternatives to incarceration, we were able to take that burden off of the taxpayers. We went through our workforce. We eliminated 1,100 positions, saving $100 million. As a physician, I worked on balancing and consolidating the health centers where we make them federally qualified, saving $77 million. We brought the treasurer and the comptroller's office together, saving $1.5 million every year. We leveraged our capital fund, bringing in funds from the state and the federal government, saving $100 million. 70% of our capital projects, our infrastructure that we have to build, comes from outside support. So yes, when I came in, the house was on fire. And Suffolk County has actually, compared to other municipalities, we've actually done quite well. So we're going to continue to do that.
Let me first give you an example and then speak to your question. Doc runs down, I think, a very impressive list of efficiencies, and that's exactly what you have asked us to do. Find efficiencies, reduce spending, continue to provide essential services, but make smart choices and find consolidations and rein in the cost of government, but ensure that we're still doing the best job possible. Watch every penny and squeeze every dollar and hold yourself accountable when you do it. And that's exactly what we do at the Suffolk County level of government. Just one very quick example. We are mandated to provide legal services to senior citizens who are in need. And it was costing us hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. And looking for efficiencies, and in my capacity as chairman of the Veterans and Seniors Committee in the legislature, that how can we provide an even better service at less cost? And so where we were contracting those services out, we decided to take the federal grant that we received, which is about 1/3 of the money that we were spending on it. We turned that grant money over to Touro Law School, and they created a senior citizen legal services program. And they utilized law students to work with seniors on a daily basis in meeting their legal needs. It's good for students, it's good for a local educational institution, and it's good for our seniors here. It's a better service at about 2/3 less of a cost. Those are the kinds of efficiencies that we need to continue to look at to provide a better service for less cost. That's how we become a more efficient level of government, and that's how we cut costs and keep our area as affordable as possible. Was that
Yes,
right?
it was.
I do want to answer another answer for you, but hopefully we'll get that.
So as vice president,
20 seconds?
wait, no, as vice president of the school board, I kept the timer, so I was kind of like prone to that. So, well, so going back to my school board analogy or work experience, the school district's budget that I serve is $160 million. The town's budget is $189 million. So I'm well versed at looking at these very huge budgets, these huge line items, thousands and thousands of expenditures over, over pages and pages. But the reality is money is the same, whether it's big or little. They have to run very much like our home budgets. When we need to reduce something, reduce taxes, we need to look at two things. We need to reduce expenditures or grow our income. And so, yes, we can reduce taxes because we can reduce expenditures by looking at ways, finding ways to spend our money more effectively, more efficiently, streamlining services, looking at every service. So reducing expenditures will certainly help us reduce taxes, but also growing our tax base. You know, our small businesses in our community is the backbone of our economy locally. And as Legislator Stern said earlier, you know, we need to find ways to encourage that growth in our community and cut the red tape. It shouldn't be so expensive to run a business in the town of Huntington. We should be celebrating those people that are willing to risk everything and start a small business in our community.
I don't have any questions for the receiver attention. How about if I give you guys like a closing time or something that you can?
Fine.
And you know, so far it's a very nice audience here, right? Very orderly.
Quiet.
I have a compilation of a few cards that I'm going to kind of combine into one. It's for the legislature in the town. And if I can summarize what I've got here, we're talking about revitalizing Huntington Station, concern about Section 8 housing, apartments versus accessory apartments. I'm going to let you comment. You know, it's going to be a mix, but it's all kind of quality of life issues and enforcement issues, things like that. There's a question here about the Heartland project, Huntington revitalization, and one of the ones that came up, you know, was crime, gangs, you know, things like that. So it's kind of security, quality of life, housing type issues. And if we can start with Grant, and we'll proceed across addressing some of those, because those are outside of cost of living. The quality of life issues are big as far as questions that people want to ask.
Yeah, look, I have walked all through Huntington Station. There's a portion, about a quarter of Huntington Stations in our legislative district, and I walked all of it. And it's tragic how much the county and the town have failed Huntington Station. There have been plans talked about for decades. Nothing's been done. I've walked through. There are open and notorious drug houses, drug dealers standing out in the middle of the street. Most of the residents, by the way, are at this point Central Americans. A lot of them not U.S. citizens. They're just there to work. But you know, again, the dominant physical presence, the most present people are drug dealers in certain areas. And I don't see any police patrols. Several years ago, about 5 years ago, they closed down the satellite police precinct, which was on New York Avenue. One of the things I called for was to reopen satellite police precincts, particularly in the areas that are most impacted by crime. But also it means getting into these communities and getting rid of these drug houses. I mean, I walked right up to a clutch of drug dealers, and they were, you know, boombox was booming, and they were, you know, they were dealing, and you know, said hello. What are you guys doing? They thought I was a cop. They all, you know, shrunk away. But if I could find them just strolling through the neighborhood, why hasn't the police department done something? I know I was walking through Greenlawn and came across one of Dr. Spencer's colleagues, a doctor in the hospital. She pointed to a house across the street. You know, in a nice neighborhood in Greenlawn. She said they're dealing drugs out of that house every day, every night. I've got kids here on the lawn. Every other one of the neighbors said the same thing when I knocked on the door. So we have a problem with enforcement, and it's really not a lack of resources. It's a lack of will, and it's a lack of determination. And one of the things I said is, as soon as I'm elected, I'm going to hold a press conference in front of that drug house, and I'm going to demand that it be shut down. And I'm going to bring media, and we're going to make sure that the spotlight is shown on it. They may go somewhere else, but at least they'll get out of that neighborhood. So that's a start. So thank you.
I take a bit of a different approach, and I didn't just walk through and start to criticize. I found Huntington Station and Huntington to be one of the best communities that I've ever seen. And I believe we have our challenges. And instead, I looked at people who have lived here all of their lives, and I said, what do we need? What can we do to join together? What can I do to bring more resources? And we need to focus on our communities and our young people and bringing resources with our Tri-CYA, our community and schools together. bringing in funding, bringing in a community center, helping our officers know our kids by sponsoring community events that the officers can get to know the businesses and the communities. And I tend to look at the glass being half empty as a minute, I mean, not as half empty, but as half full, being a minister, and looking at what are its positive qualities. Yes, we have our challenges, but I think the people who are there, I'm relying on them, and we've done that by bringing in resources and changing the culture. We can't shoot our way out of this problem, but I've brought in technology. We sponsored, we've gotten some of the guns off of the streets, but we've looked at the citizens who live there, and I rely on them to advise me, and I'm responsive to them, and I'm responsive to you.
Let me speak to one of the other aspects of the question, which is the revitalization of Huntington Station. You know, we can talk for hours about protecting our environment. We can talk about water quality for today and for generations to come, and we can talk about good paying jobs and economic development. But the fact is, you can't have any of those things that we all agree are critically important unless you have the infrastructure to serve it. And in our area, that means sewer infrastructure to serve it. The 110 corridor, which is so important to the economic health of western Suffolk County, all of Suffolk County in our region, could not have been possible unless they ran the sewer infrastructure up the block. And so I know Doc shares this priority, that the expansion of our sewer infrastructure is vitally important to not only our economic growth throughout the county, but particularly Huntington Station. And so we're very proud of the fact that we have literally led the way out of what had been decades of neglect. Without that kind of infrastructure expansion, that now it is going to be key to the revitalization of Huntington Station, the expansion of the Southwest Sewer District, coming up to be able to serve the infrastructure, which is going to bring development, which is going to bring buildings, which is going to bring jobs, which is going to bring quality of life, and literally the revitalization of Huntington Station. You have to have the infrastructure to serve that. I know Doc and I are very proud of the fact that we are making significant progress and looking forward to great days ahead for Huntington Station due to the efforts of Suffolk County.
So I'm going to start with saying that safety seems to be, I think, the biggest, public safety seems to be the biggest pressing issue for the community within the station, within Huntington. I want to first say that I was given the opportunity to receive the endorsement by a group, a civic organization called Huntington Matters, and it's a 2,000 strong group of residents of Huntington who like my message and have endorsed me, and I'm very proud of that. And I think one of the reasons that I have that endorsement is because, one, I balanced exactly what has been said. Huntington is a wonderful community, and having the opportunity to worship there over the last couple of weekends, I've been able to attend various worship services, and certainly just talking to residents. It's a community full of heart. I imagine it's a community that when my parents first immigrated would have ended up living in, just because they're so welcoming to diversity, and they live in a way that is supportive of one another. And so it's a very beautiful community, but the reality is there are some safety issues, and I believe every resident of every street in our community should feel safe. They should feel like their kids can play in the front yard, they can walk to their corner market. Safety has to be at the top priority for Huntington Station and for Huntington. And all I can say for the resolution for that is we all live near Ashbroken. And what do you do when you see that chief as you enter that village? You set your cruise control to 30 because you know you're going to get a ticket. Enforcement is key.
Okay. I want to follow up on one question, and it does. It's embedded in the past question we had. It's like one of the issues that Huntington Town, Suffolk County has always had is there has really not been major construction of apartment buildings. And because that has not been zoned, allowed, not in my backyard type attitudes that have come up, then what's happened is homeowners open up their houses, they have an accessory apartment, and that's fulfilled the need. Where do we go 10, 20 years from now to solve the problem? I know Huntington Town is putting a lot of pressure, on accessory apartment owners that they have to have permits. They're talking about looking on Craigslist, if somebody's trying to rent, have they gone through the legal procedures and things like that? I mean, what's the solution? And I'm not saying it's 6 months, but over a period of 5, 10, 20 years, where do we go county-wise and town-wise? Yeah,
there have been a number of proposals, and some of them actually look like they might actually be moving forward regarding Huntington Station. But a lot of those proposals involve multi-family, multi-story dwellings, condos and apartments, and they have a place, particularly in Huntington Station, which could use the population, could use an infusion of working people, and it would be good to see that. Affordable housing. We all, at this point, we have a surplus of housing in Suffolk County. It's still expensive. Why? Because people pay huge property taxes, and why would anyone rent for less than they're paying in property taxes? So that's a huge part and parcel of the cost of housing. But as far as the supply goes, yes, we should develop housing, and again, particularly around transportation nodes, like Huntington Station, which is you get on the Long Island Railroad at Huntington Station, and in 55 minutes you're in New York City. So it's a natural location to do that. And I wish they had done it 20 years ago. So, thank you.
We have to have a plan that brings all stakeholders to the table. I'm a big believer in local control. You live here, you came expecting a certain quality of life, and I believe that any plan that we have for our community has to first involve the community. Those decisions shouldn't be made from a regional perspective, but really community input from the beginning. We have to build a community that focuses to allow our children to have opportunities, but also affordable living opportunities. We have to focus on our technology hubs that we have and our transportation hubs, and we need to build a community that is not too intrusive on the earth, that is not too high density, that doesn't put waste into our drinking water. And we can do that by having kind of a comprehensive plan that starts locally.
One of the big reasons why it hasn't been done to the scale that perhaps it should have been done all of these years is because of the lack of infrastructure. And I won't go through all of it again, but you have to have the infrastructure to serve it. And I agree with Doc that these decisions need to be made at a local level. Those municipalities that have land use and zoning authority with input from the local residents and local municipalities. But at the county level, we have been participating in a lot of these big initiatives. Wyandanch Rising is literally rising, and it's centered around transit, and I think it's going to be a model of success. We are working closely with our partners in Brookhaven and Islip. They have big plans for the Ronkonkoma Hub, which is also going to be a transit-oriented development, which is going to be mixed use around a transportation hub. These are appropriate settings. And a redevelopment, rather than knocking down acres of pristine properties, but redevelopment of areas where this kind of development is actually welcome by the surrounding communities. Those projects hopefully will serve as models for the region going forward.
Thank you.
So I love open space. I love that on my ride home, there's a big field on Elwood Road, oftentimes with geese in it, and I think that the natural beauty that we have here needs to be protected. That said, the reality is, yes, we do need to have housing, or we need to have a plan to address housing. But it needs to be exactly that. It needs to be a plan. A community shouldn't have to go and get 5,500 signatures on a whim to try and block a vote and have a supermajority overrule the wishes of the community for development. when we buy houses, that's our biggest asset. That's our biggest investment for most of us. And that needs to be protected, because when I bought my house, I knew what it was zoned to the left and the right of me and in front of me and behind me before I purchased it, before I made the choice to make that investment in my home. That needs to be protected for all of us. So why I say planned is that when there is a plan, whether it's a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan for a growth model that makes sense for a community, then people buying houses can know what's coming ahead, and it won't be a surprise.
Okay, we're going to, just a couple wrap-up items. Susan had mentioned about the bamboo legislation. Did you want to comment on that? That's more of a town.
Me?
Yes.
I think my issue with the bamboo legislation is that the town is exempt from it. And I think when you impose a law on your citizens and you exempt yourself as a government, I'm fundamentally against that.
Okay. And I have one question here, which I think we could probably agree with. It's like, could Huntington pass a law that whoever has a garage sale, that they have to take down their signs after it's over?
I think we should also pass a law that once an election is...
Well, you have a lot of signs and everything out there. There's no responsible for collecting them, right? You know, whether it's stapled to a telephone pole or whatever.
It's what we have to do, you know. It's not always pleasant. But.
Gotcha. Okay. What I figured we'd do, we're just past 8:30 and we're trying to keep it within a reasonable time frame. There were a few other various questions about negative campaigning and things like that. I think that's all kind of part of the election cycle. Nobody really likes it, but it's an institution, and whether it's national, state, or local, it seems to be part of campaigning.
Can I make a comment to that?
Yeah, sure.
Actually, my running mate, Jean Cook, and I made a commitment not to run a negative campaign at all. In fact, there was a group that, the campaign flyers that you guys get, it's been an education, just so you know, but, the type of campaign flyers that you get, for candidates, one flyer usually costs about $10,000. So if you've got 7 of them in your mailbox over the course of 14 days, that represents approximately $70,000. Jean Cook and I made a commitment to not run a negative campaign because we want to win on our merits. I can't run a campaign talking about my integrity and run down somebody else. That doesn't serve the purpose of why I'm running. And to say that, we did have a community group who wanted to support us run, a campaign that was we were uncomfortable with. And we chose not to, and we have been committed to that. So you will not see one negative flyer with my name on it or Jean Cook's name on it this election.
What I'd like to do is that took care of a compilation of a number of questions and everything else there.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Because Esther and our receiver of taxes and Joanne, really, a lot of this was county and town. To wrap up, I'd like to see if, Monique, Esther, Joanne, if you'd like to comment, you've been residents for a long period of time, any concerns that you want to, things that have happened over the last 10, 20, 30 years that you see in the town of Huntington, it concerns you and you'd like to have it addressed with legislation or, on either the county or the town level. It's just a general commentary.
As opposed to a closing statement, or we're going to do closing statements?
I think at this point we'll probably just wrap up with that. If you'd like a closing, we can do like something that's fairly short, like maybe 60 seconds or so.
Okay, I'm confused. Do you want?
I'm
sorry. I'm into numbers. I'm not into words.
Any concerns you have as a resident that you've seen over 10, 20, 30 years that you've seen in Huntington that you'd like to address to the legislative side of it? And then give us a closing statement as well.
as well?
Yeah.
Okay. In 60
The time is
seconds?
on. The time
In
is on.
60 seconds?
Maybe we'll let her stretch a little
Okay,
bit.
I really think that Huntington is a wonderful place to live. I have chosen to stay here for all of my adult life. Yeah, we have problems, but I think we have good people working to solve them. And for that reason, I can't think of anything specific that really bothers me. As far as a closing statement, I would like to say that the tax receiver takes office December 1st. That's less than 30 days after Election Day. So I think what's important in a tax receiver is experience and knowledge about the job. My opponent talks about parking area reserved for taxpayers. That was done. And you know what they found out? Nobody used the parking spaces because taxpayers come in and they're out. And in addition to the spaces being left empty, other people who do business in the town came in and were very upset that there were special privileges being given to people coming in to pay taxes. Being open the Saturday before the last day of collection, that could be 6 days before the last day, if you count the week. It costs money to open the building. You have to have general services there. You have to have security there. You have to have the staff there, and you're paying them double overtime. And what do you do with the money at the end of the day? You know, these are things that someone who has experience in the job knows how to handle and knows why either they've been tried or they haven't been tried. And so for that reason, I ask for your support because I have the experience in the job. Thank you.
So we'll do Monique and Joanne, and then we'll finish up with the county and town candidates for the close.
I am a resident of Elwood, and so although I think Huntington is a wonderful place, I was opposed to the development going up on Elwood Road. There is too much traffic, and we didn't want it. And 55,000 signatures, 5,500 signatures should be accounted for. It shouldn't just be tossed away and said, well, you're wrong, I'm right, and we're going to have it regardless. So that's addressing that. As far as the parking not being used, maybe people didn't know about it. That's one of the things that could have been on the answering machine, is if you're coming down to park, we'll have parking spots available and you can use them. And as far as experience, no, I don't hold that job. I haven't held that job, but anyone who took any job for the first time, when I became a teaching assistant, I didn't have that experience. You have to get the job in order to get experience. And you have to be a dedicated worker, willing to learn, willing to try new things, and willing to give it your all. And I'm willing to do that.
I'd like to thank the church again for holding this forum. And I'd like to thank Jennifer for her comments. And yes, I could be sitting at home watching, I don't know, some kind of TV show. But I'm very dedicated to my job. And I have been fortunate to have no opponent this year, but I don't take it for granted. I want the people to realize that I love my job. I'd like to keep my job. And I just love helping people. Just this week, I encountered, and being in office for 34 years, you think you've seen it all. I encountered two very sad, unusual situations that had nothing to do with anything that my staff or I did. But it had to do, one involving some documents, marriage license, all this before I took office, and then just today, involving a poor gentleman regarding his birth certificate. I go the extra mile. I make the calls. I insist when they say, oh, there's nothing we can do to help this person. I'll call, when I call Albany, the Department of Health, I'll say, I want to speak to your supervisor. And many times I've explained the situation to 3 and 4 different people until I finally, they agree that there is something that we can do to help these people. So I like people to leave my office happy. We get many people who come in angry because they're turned away by other departments, but we try and help them out because I have to appease the people and quiet the crowd. And I do thank you again, and please consider voting for me and take one of my brochures and this one.
Grant, would you like to?
I'll make it quick. 'Cause I know we're, the last place you want to be is between the coffee and the audience. Thank you all for coming tonight. It was a real pleasure to be here. And I look forward to trying to do good for our community and to serving as your legislator for the next couple of years. So thank you again, and God bless you all, and thank you for hosting us.
I'd also like to say thank you for this opportunity of letting us share our ideas. I feel privileged to live here. I've been able to benefit from being a family man, a businessman, and as a legislator, I believe that I've delivered results. We've seen improvement in a very difficult time, very positive. I'd also like to thank Grant. And he's someone that actually I've become quite fond of. I believe he's got a beautiful family, and I commend his spirit, and I'm glad to be able to have this discourse. I'd like to say that I'm out there working hard. I've been able to prove that I can get results both on the local level and national level. And I am Doc William Spencer. I am your Suffolk County Legislator. I will continue to work hard for you. I am asking humbly for your support. Thank you.
And thank you for having me as well. And thank you for allowing me and my outstanding staff to serve you once again these past 2 years. I had said the first time that I had run for this office that I hope to accomplish an awful lot for our community. I hope to have a record of accomplishment and leave a legacy behind. And when you are subject to term limits, as we are at the county level, you know you have a finite period of time to be there, to work hard every day, because you know that it's going to end, and you know that you are going to be judged, and you're going to be judged on your record, as we should be, and hold ourselves out to you as being accountable for that record. And so I said, when I first ran, and hopefully I would be given the privilege of serving these terms, that not only would I want to have a record of accomplishment, but much more importantly, I wanted to make my community proud. I believe that I've done that, and I look forward to serving one last term as your Suffolk County Legislator, and I ask for your continued support on November 3rd. Thank you.
So this is the last night of, like I said, 9 events that all of the candidates have participated in, and while my competition and my running mate they're not here tonight, I just want to commend all of them for being willing to put themselves out there. This is not easy. Our lives become extremely public. Criticism becomes extremely public. You are working sometimes 12 to 15 hours a day campaigning. This is not for wimps. And we've all run really hard races, and so I commend them for joining me in that. I want to leave you with the idea that to whom much is given, much is required. And I recognize that this opportunity is a big opportunity. November 3rd, there'll be a vote, and I believe that I'm on the road that I'm supposed to be on to win that. But regardless, I know that I'm on the road that I'm supposed to be on. So thank you for the opportunity. I will ask tonight if you are supportive of myself and Jean Cook, you would take a lawn sign and put it on your lawn and tell other people to vote for us. Thank you.
wrap up, candidates are going to be here. If you want to interface with them, there's coffee over here.